I was pouring my second cup of coffee when my nephew Marcus shuffled into my kitchen that Tuesday morning, his backpack dragging behind him like it weighed 100 pounds. The boy was only 8 years old, but he moved like someone 3 times his age. "Morning, sweetheart," I said, keeping my voice light. "Ready for some pancakes?" Marcus's eyes lit up for just a moment before that guarded look slid back over his face. "I shouldn't, Aunt Rachel. Diane makes me a smoothie every morning." My hand paused over the mixing bowl. This was the 3rd time in 2 weeks that Marcus had mentioned those smoothies, always with the same flat tone, like he was reciting something he'd been told to say. "Well, you're at my house today," I said gently, "and I make terrible smoothies but excellent pancakes. Deal?" He nodded, and I watched him devour 3 pancakes with a hunger that made my chest ache. This wasn't the appetite of a picky eater. This was a child who was genuinely hungry. My phone buzzed just as I was clearing the plates. The school's number flashed on the screen, and my stomach dropped. They never called unless something was wrong. "Miss Parker? This is Mrs. Patterson, the school counselor. I was hoping we could talk about Marcus." I stepped into the hallway, lowering my voice. "Of course. Is everything all right?" There was a pause, the kind that told me nothing was all right. "I'm afraid Marcus has been taking food from other students' lunches. Today, one of the teachers caught him with 3 granola bars and 2 sandwiches in his desk. My hands went numb. That's impossible. His father is a financial analyst. They're not struggling for money." "That's exactly why I'm calling you," Mrs. Patterson said quietly. "When I spoke with Marcus, he said he gets sick at home after eating. He's afraid to eat there. Miss Parker, I think something might be happening that we need to look into." The world seemed to tilt slightly. My brother Robert had remarried 2 years after losing his wife Sarah to cancer. Diane had seemed nice enough at the wedding, a real estate agent with a bright smile and expensive taste. But I'd only seen Marcus a handful of times since then. Robert kept saying they were adjusting, that they needed space to become a family. "I'll handle this," I told Mrs. Patterson. "Thank you for calling me." That afternoon, I picked Marcus up from school with Robert's permission, telling him I wanted to spend some quality time with my nephew. We went for burgers and milkshakes, and I watched Marcus eat like he hadn't seen food in days. "Marcus," I said carefully, "why don't you like eating at home?" He poked at his fries, not meeting my eyes. "Diane's cooking just doesn't agree with me." "What do you mean?" "I get sick. My stomach hurts and I throw up." He said it so matter-of-factly, like this was just normal life. But Dad says I'm being dramatic. He says I need to appreciate what Diane does for me. A cold feeling was spreading through my chest. How long has this been happening? Since September, I think. When school started? 3 months. My nephew had been getting sick for 3 months, and no one had thought to take him to a doctor? "Does anything make you feel better?" I asked. "When I'm at Jake's house or at school, I'm fine. But the mornings are the worst because of the smoothie." There it was again. That smoothie. "Tell me about the smoothie, sweetheart." Marcus's voice dropped to almost a whisper. "Diane makes it for me every morning. She says it's special, with protein powder and vitamins. But it tastes funny, and it makes my stomach hurt right away." When I told Dad, he said I was being ungrateful. Diane cried and said she was just trying to help me grow big and strong. My heart was pounding now. "Does Diane make smoothies for your dad too?" "No, just me. She says he doesn't need the extra nutrition." I drove Marcus back to my house instead of Robert's, texting my brother that we were having such a good time I wanted to keep him for dinner. Robert replied with a thumbs-up emoji. He didn't even ask to speak to his son. That evening, Marcus ate spaghetti, garlic bread, and 2 helpings of salad. I waited, watching for any signs of illness. Nothing happened. He played video games, did his homework, and by 9 o'clock he was yawning happily. "Aunt Rachel," he said as I tucked him into the guest bed, "can I stay here tomorrow too?" "We'll see, honey, but you're always welcome here. Always. You know that, right?" He nodded, but there was something in his eyes that broke my heart. Fear. This child was afraid to go home. I called Robert after Marcus fell asleep. "I need to talk to you about your son." "Can it wait? Diane and I are watching a movie." "No, Robert, it can't wait. Marcus is sick. He's been getting sick for months, and you haven't even taken him to a doctor." "He's fine," my brother said dismissively. "He's just being picky." Diane bends over backwards trying to make him healthy meals, and he complains about everything. It's disrespectful. "Robert, he's losing weight. He's stealing food at school. This isn't about being picky. He's probably doing it for attention. You don't understand how difficult he's been since Diane moved in. He resents her. Our therapist says it's normal, but we need to set boundaries." "What therapist?" I asked sharply. "Diane found someone. We've been doing family sessions. Without me knowing? Without asking if I wanted to be involved? You're not his parent, Rachel. Diane and I are handling it." The line went dead. My brother had hung up on me. I sat in my kitchen for a long time after that call, rage and fear warring inside me. Something was very wrong in that house, and my brother was either oblivious or complicit. Either way, Marcus was in danger. The next morning, I made Marcus scrambled eggs and toast. He ate everything and asked for seconds. By the time I drove him to school, he looked brighter than I'd seen him in months. "Aunt Rachel," he said as he unbuckled his seatbelt, "I don't want to go back there. To their house. Can I live with you?" My throat tightened. "Let's take this one day at a time, okay? But I promise you, I'm not going to let anything bad happen to you." After dropping him off, I didn't go home. I drove to Robert's house in Richmond Hill. His Tesla was gone. He'd be at work until 6. But Diane's Mercedes was in the driveway. I rang the doorbell, plastering on a friendly smile. Diane answered in yoga pants and a cashmere sweater, her highlighted hair perfectly styled even at 10 in the morning. "Rachel, what a surprise!" Her smile was tight. "Is everything all right?" "I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd pop by. I wanted to talk to you about Marcus." For just a second, something flickered across her face. Annoyance? Fear? Then the smile was back. "Of course. Come in." The house was immaculate, like a show home. Everything in shades of gray and white, nothing out of place. I didn't see a single one of Marcus's drawings on the fridge, no backpack by the door, no toys in the living room. It was like a child didn't live here at all. "I know things have been challenging," I started, choosing my words carefully. "Marcus mentioned he's been having some stomach issues." Diane sighed, settling onto the white leather couch. "He's been so difficult, Rachel. I try everything. Special meals, smoothies, packed with nutrients. Robert and I even found him a therapist. But he just rejects everything I do. Sometimes I think he does it on purpose to cause problems between Robert and me." "He's 8 years old," I said quietly. "I don't think children that age are capable of that kind of manipulation." "You'd be surprised." Diane's voice had an edge now. "His mother spoiled him terribly. Sarah let him get away with everything. He's not used to structure or discipline." I felt heat rising in my chest. My sister-in-law had been one of the kindest people I'd ever known. Sarah died of cancer. She spent her last months making sure Marcus felt loved and secure. Yes? Well, sometimes too much love creates entitled children. Diane stood up. "I should get ready for a showing." "Was there anything else?" "Actually, Marcus mentioned the smoothies you make him. I'd love the recipe. I'm always looking for healthy breakfast options." Diane's smile didn't reach her eyes. "It's nothing special, just protein powder and fruit." "Which brand of protein powder do you use?" "I don't remember off the top of my head. I should really get going, Rachel." She was practically pushing me toward the door now, but as we passed the kitchen, I saw it. A bottle on the counter, partially hidden behind the coffee maker. The label was turned away, but I caught the bright orange color of a warning sticker. "Let me just use your washroom before I go," I said suddenly. Diane's face went rigid. "The powder room is being renovated. You can use the gas station down the street." "I'll be quick. The upstairs bathroom is fine." Before she could stop me, I was heading for the stairs. Behind me, I heard Diane's sharp intake of breath, but she couldn't very well physically restrain me. The master bathroom was as sterile as the rest of the house. But when I opened the medicine cabinet, my blood ran cold. There, between the expensive face creams and Robert's blood pressure medication, was a bottle of Ipecac syrup, the kind used to induce vomiting in cases of poisoning. My hands were shaking as I took a photo with my phone. Next to it was a bottle of magnesium citrate, a powerful laxative. Both bottles were nearly empty. I closed the cabinet and flushed the toilet for effect, then headed back downstairs. Diane was standing at the bottom of the steps, her arms crossed. "Find what you were looking for?" she asked coldly. "Just the bathroom," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Thanks for the chat, Diane." I drove straight to my friend Monica's house. She worked as a lab technician at Sunnybrook Hospital, and I trusted her completely. "I need your help," I told her, explaining everything, "but I need proof before I go to the authorities. Robert won't believe me without it." Monica's face was grim. "If what you're saying is true, this is child abuse, serious child abuse." "I know. But I need to be absolutely certain before I blow up my brother's marriage and potentially lose access to Marcus altogether." That weekend, I convinced Robert to let Marcus stay with me, saying I wanted to take him to the Science Center in Canada's Wonderland. My brother barely glanced up from his laptop when he dropped Marcus off Friday evening. For 3 days, I documented everything. Marcus ate normally and showed no signs of illness. He gained 1/2 pound. His color improved. He laughed and played and acted like a regular 8-year-old. On Monday morning, I had to take him back. I watched the light fade from his eyes as we pulled up to the house. "Do I have to?" he whispered. "Not for long," I promised. "I'm working on something, okay? But I need you to be strong for a little while longer." Before he got out of the car, I hugged him tight and slipped a small object into his backpack. It was a tiny camera, no bigger than a button, that I'd ordered online. The kind marketed to people who suspected their nannies of mistreating their children. "Your backpack has a special pocket now," I whispered. "Don't open it. Just leave it on the kitchen counter when you get home, okay?" He nodded, not understanding but trusting me. That week was the longest of my life. Every morning, I'd check the camera footage on my phone, watching through the small lens hidden in Marcus's backpack. Tuesday morning, I saw it. Diane in the kitchen, alone, making that smoothie. She pulled out the protein powder, added frozen berries and almond milk. Normal so far. Then she opened a cupboard above the stove and took out 2 bottles. The angle wasn't perfect, but I could make out the labels. Ipecac syrup and magnesium citrate. She poured a careful measure of each into the blender, then added honey to mask the taste. The whole process took less than 3 minutes. Then she called Marcus down for breakfast. I watched my nephew obediently drink the smoothie, watched Diane smile and ruffle his hair like a caring stepmother. "All of it, Marcus. It's good for you." Within 20 minutes, Marcus was running for the bathroom. Diane didn't follow. She pulled out her phone and I saw her thumbs flying over the screen. A moment later, her phone pinged with a response. When Marcus came back, pale and shaking, Diane was putting away the blender. "You're being dramatic again," she said coolly. "Just like your father said, maybe you need to spend some time thinking about your attitude." That was when I called Monica. "I have video evidence. I need you to tell me I'm not crazy." She came over that night, and we watched the footage together. Her face went white. "Rachel, this is attempted murder. This isn't just making a kid sick. Those dosages, given regularly, could cause serious organ damage. His kidneys, his heart, his digestive system, and the psychological trauma of being deliberately poisoned by a caregiver." Monica's voice was shaking. "You need to call the police, tonight. I need more first. I need to show Robert what's happening. I need him to see it." Monica grabbed my shoulders. "Your brother isn't going to save Marcus. He's already chosen Diane over his son. You need to call CPS and the police right now, or I will." She was right. I knew she was right. But the thought of what would happen next, the legal battles, the family destruction, the possibility that I might lose Marcus altogether if the system failed him, it paralyzed me. 24 hours, I begged. "Give me 24 hours to get Marcus somewhere safe and confront Robert with everything at once. Please, Monica." She agreed reluctantly. That night, I barely slept. I compiled everything. The videos, the photos of the Ipecac bottle, Marcus's school records showing his weight loss and the food-stealing incidents, statements from Mrs. Patterson, even screenshots of Diane's social media posts where she complained about difficult stepchildren and second marriages with baggage. The next morning, I picked Marcus up from school at lunch, signing him out for a dentist appointment. I drove him to my house and sat him down at the kitchen table. "Marcus, I need to tell you something, and it's going to be scary, but I need you to be brave, okay?" His eyes went wide. "Am I in trouble?" "No, sweetheart, you're not in trouble, but Diane is. She's been putting things in your smoothies that make you sick, on purpose." I watched his face as he processed this. Confusion, then disbelief, then a terrible, dawning understanding. "Why?" he whispered. "I don't know yet, but I'm going to make sure she never hurts you again. You're going to stay here with me, and I'm going to talk to some people who can help keep you safe." "What about Dad?" That was the question I'd been dreading. "I don't know, honey, but I promise you this. No matter what happens, you will never be forced to go back to that house. I will fight for you with everything I have." I called CPS first. The worker who answered listened to my story with professional calm, but I could hear the urgency creeping into her voice as I described the evidence. "We'll need to send someone out immediately. Can you keep Marcus with you?" "Yes. I'm his aunt. I'm family." "Good. Don't contact the parents yet. We need to secure the child first and document the scene. We'll have an officer and a social worker there within 2 hours." Next, I called a family lawyer I'd found online, someone who specialized in emergency custody cases. She agreed to meet me at my house within the hour. Then I called my brother. This was the conversation I'd been dreading most. "Rachel? I'm in a meeting. Get out of it. I have your son. He's not coming back to your house." There was a long silence. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about Diane poisoning Marcus. I'm talking about ipecac syrup and laxatives in his morning smoothies. I'm talking about child abuse, Robert, and I have proof." "You're insane. Diane would never." "I have video, Robert. I have footage of her putting poison in his food. I have photos of the bottles in your medicine cabinet. I have medical documentation of his weight loss and school reports of him stealing food. And in about 90 minutes, CPS is going to be at your door with police officers." I could hear him breathing hard on the other end. "You're lying. You're making this up because you never liked Diane. I'm sending you a video right now. Watch it, then call me back." I hung up and texted him a clip of Diane making the smoothie. Then I turned off my phone. The CPS worker arrived first, a tired-looking woman named Sandra with kind eyes. She spoke gently with Marcus, asking him questions about his home life, his health, how he felt about his stepmother. I watched my nephew's small voice describe months of being sick, of being told he was dramatic, of being afraid to eat in his own home. The lawyer, Miss Chen, was sharp and efficient. She explained that with the evidence I had, we could file for emergency custody tonight. The video alone was damning, but combined with everything else, it painted a clear picture of systematic abuse. My phone started ringing. "Robert." I let it go to voicemail. He called 6 more times. Finally, I answered. "Did you watch it?" "I need to see Marcus. Right now." "That's not going to happen, Robert." "He's my son!" My brother's voice cracked. "You can't just take him. You let someone poison him for months. You dismissed his pain, called him dramatic, and chose your new wife over your child's safety. So yes, Robert, I can take him, and I am. It's not what it looks like. Diane was just trying to help him lose weight. He'd been gaining too much, stress eating after Sarah died. She was trying to help. I felt like I'd been punched. She was giving him ipecac, Robert. That's not a diet plan. That's poison. She could have damaged his organs permanently. She could have killed him. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. But you knew he was sick. You knew he was stealing food at school. You knew, and you did nothing. There was a long silence. Then, in a voice I barely recognized, my brother said, "Where do I go from here?" "You cooperate with CPS. You get a lawyer, and you figure out if you're going to be a father or a husband, because right now you can't be both." The police went to Robert's house that afternoon. I wasn't there, but Sandra told me later what happened. Diane initially denied everything, claimed I was a jealous sister trying to break up Robert's marriage. Then they showed her the video. She broke down. The story came pouring out. She'd never wanted children. When she married Robert, he'd promised they would eventually send Marcus to boarding school, give them space to build their own life together. But he kept postponing, kept saying Marcus needed more time to adjust. Diane had started to resent the boy. Every time Marcus called out for his dad, every time Robert had to skip date night for a school event, every time their vacation plans had to include Marcus, the resentment grew into something darker. She'd started with small doses, just enough to make him sick, so Robert would see how difficult Marcus was being. But Robert had blamed Marcus instead, called him dramatic, and Diane had realized she could push further. If Marcus was sick enough, difficult enough, maybe Robert would finally agree to send him away. She'd researched boarding schools, found one in British Columbia that took children as young as 8. She'd been working on Robert, slowly convincing him that Marcus needed intensive help they couldn't provide. The smoothies had been her solution. Make Marcus sick enough that boarding school seemed like the only option. She'd never meant to hurt him permanently, she claimed. She'd been careful with the dosages. She just wanted him gone. The police charged her with child endangerment, assault, and criminal negligence. Robert wasn't charged, but CPS opened an investigation into his fitness as a parent. That evening, as I sat with Marcus eating pizza and watching cartoons, he turned to me with tears in his eyes. "Why did she hate me so much, Aunt Rachel? What did I do wrong?" I pulled him close. "You didn't do anything wrong, sweetheart. Nothing at all. Sometimes adults make terrible choices, and it's never the child's fault. Never." The custody hearing was 3 weeks later. Robert showed up with his own lawyer, but his heart wasn't in the fight. He testified that he'd been blind, that he'd prioritized his marriage over his son's safety. He agreed that Marcus should stay with me, at least until Diane's trial was over, and he'd undergone extensive therapy. "I love you, Marcus," he said, his voice breaking as he looked at his son in the courtroom. "I'm so sorry I didn't protect you." Marcus didn't respond. He just pressed closer to my side. The judge granted me temporary custody with provisions for supervised visits with Robert. Diane was released on bail but prohibited from going anywhere near Marcus. That night, I tucked Marcus into what had officially become his bedroom. We'd painted it blue and hung up posters of his favorite superheroes. His drawings covered the walls now, and his toys were scattered across the floor in the beautiful mess of childhood. "Aunt Rachel," he said quietly, "can I call you Mom?" My eyes filled with tears. "You can call me whatever feels right to you, sweetheart." "Mom feels right," he whispered. "Is that okay?" I kissed his forehead. "That's more than okay, that's perfect." 6 months later, Diane pleaded guilty to all charges. She was sentenced to 3 years in prison and a permanent restraining order from Marcus. Robert signed over full custody to me. He visits Marcus twice a week now, working with a therapist to rebuild their relationship. It's slow going, but Marcus is starting to trust his father again. As for Marcus, he's thriving. He's gained back the weight he lost and then some. His grades are excellent. He has friends. He laughs easily now, and that guarded look is mostly gone from his eyes. But every morning, when I make him breakfast, I see him watch me carefully, making sure I'm not hiding anything in his food, making sure he's safe. That damage, I think, will take years to heal. Maybe a lifetime. Sometimes late at night, I think about what would have happened if Mrs. Patterson hadn't called me, if I hadn't trusted my instincts, if Monica hadn't pushed me to act immediately. How much longer could Marcus have survived on that cocktail of poison? The what-ifs haunt me. But then I hear Marcus laughing in his bedroom, talking to his friends on video calls, planning his next science project, and I know we got him out in time. We saved him. And that has to be enough. This experience taught me lessons I'll carry forever. First, trust your instincts when something feels wrong, especially when it concerns a child's safety. Marcus had been showing signs of distress for months, but the adults in his life had explained them away. Children often can't articulate what's happening to them, so we have to pay attention to the signs. Second, always prioritize the child's well-being over family harmony or social appearances. I knew confronting Diane and involving authorities would destroy Robert's marriage and likely damage my relationship with my brother, but Marcus's safety was more important than keeping the peace. Third, documentation is critical. Without the video evidence and medical records, this could have turned into a he said, she said situation. When you suspect abuse, document everything. Dates, times, symptoms, conversations, everything. Fourth, act quickly but carefully. I'm grateful I had professionals like Monica and Sandra guiding me, because I wanted to rush in and grab Marcus immediately. But following proper procedures, gathering evidence, and involving the right authorities ensured that Marcus stayed safe permanently, not just temporarily. Finally, healing takes time, and that's okay. Marcus still has nightmares sometimes. He's still working with a therapist to process what happened to him. But he's surrounded by people who love him unconditionally now, and that makes all the difference. If you ever suspect a child is being abused, trust that instinct. Call your local child protective services. Call a teacher or counselor. Call the police if necessary. You might be wrong, and that's okay. They'll investigate and find nothing. But if you're right, you could save a life. And to anyone who survived abuse from a caregiver, know this: it was never your fault. You deserve to be safe and loved and protected. And I hope you found your way to people who see your worth and fight for you the way every child deserves. Marcus is sleeping soundly down the hall right now, safe in his own bed, in his own home. And tomorrow morning, I'll make him pancakes and he'll eat them without fear. That's what victory looks like. Not dramatic or perfect, but quiet and safe and real. And it's everything.